God bless everybody. Today we are continuing with our studies on the second book of Kings. We're doing chapters 17 and 18. Let's get into it. In the 12th year, Ahaz, king of Judah, Hoshea, the son of Elah, became king of Israel and Samaria, and he reigned 9 years. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel who were before him. Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, came up against him, and Hosea became his vassal and paid him tribute money. And the king of Assyria uncovered a conspiracy by Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to king of Egypt, and brought no tribute to the king of Assyria, as they had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Getting into the commentaries a little bit, chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. Hosea became king in 732 BC, reigning from a time with his father Jotham during his reign, 722 BC. The 10 tribes of the northern kingdom of Israel were captured by Assyria, leaving only the southern kingdom consisted of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Jerusalem and its temple, and carried away the southern kingdom of Judah to Babylon in 586 BC. Now the king of Assyria went throughout the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it for 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away to Samaria and placed them in Helea by the harbor, the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and they had feared other gods, and had walked in the statutes of the nations of the Lord, who cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. Also the children of Israel secretly did against the Lord their God things that were not right, and they built themselves high places in all the cities, from watchtower to fortified cities. They set up themselves for sacred pillars and wooden images on every high hill and under every green tree. There they burnt incense on all the high places, like the nations whom the Lord had carried away before them, and did wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, of which the Lord had said to them, "You shall not do this thing." Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all of his prophets, every seer, saying, "Turn from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, which I sent to you by my servants the prophets." Nevertheless, they would not hear, but stiffened their necks, like the necks of their fathers, who did not believe in the Lord their God, and they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he had made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he had testified against them. They followed idols, became idolaters, and went after the nations who were all around them, and concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. So they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, made for themselves a molded image and 2 calves, made a wooden image, and worshiped all the the host of the heaven and served Baal. And they caused their sons and daughters to pass through the fire, practice witchcraft and soothsaying, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them from his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah alone. Also Judah did not keep the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made, and the Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel, afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of plunderers, until he had cast them from his sight. For he torn Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. Then Jeroboam drove Israel from following the Lord, and made them commit a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They did not depart from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all the servants of the prophets. So Israel was carried away from their own land to Syria, as it is to this day. The king of Assyria brought people from Babylon, Cudah, Alva, Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they took possessions of Samaria and dwelt in its cities. And it was so at the beginning of the dwelling there that they did not fear the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which killed some of them. So they spoke to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations whom you have removed and placed in the cities of Samaria do not know the rituals of the God of the land. Therefore he has sent lions among them, and indeed they are killing them, because they do not know the rituals of the God of the land. Then the king of Syria commanded, saying, send there one of the priests whom you brought from there. Let him go and dwell there, and let him teach the rituals of the God of the land. Then one of the priests said that they had carried away from Samaria, and came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. However, every nation continued to make gods of its own, and put in shrines on the higher places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in the cities where they dwelt. The men of Babylon made sackcloth, Benoth. The men of Cudah made Nergal. The men of Hamath made Ashma. The Avites made Nebat and Tarkak. And the Sepharvites burnt their children in fire to Adrammelech and Nemelech, the gods of Sepharvaim. So they feared the Lord. From every class they appointed themselves priests of the high places, who sacrificed for them in the shrines of the high places. They feared the Lord, yet served their own gods, according to the rituals of the land from among whom they carried away. Getting into the commentaries for a little bit. Chapter 17, verse 15 to 16. The people of God have always had taken care of a spiritual, unfriendly world. Israel was warned about becoming like her neighbors when she inherited the promised land. Paul exhorted the church on the same subject. Do not be conformed to this world. That's in Romans 12:2. The sins of both Israel and Judah were so great that the Lord removed or cast them from his sight, which means They were taken captive by their nations and forced to leave their land. The great sin of Jeroboam was in leading Israel to worship calves at Dan and Bethel, and installing priests from the general population. His wickedness became the standard for evil in the northern kingdom. Verse 24 to 41. This section describes the origin and practices of the Samaritans. They were a mixed people, the result of marriage between Israelites and Gentiles who practiced a mixed form of worship. Finishing up chapter 17. To this day, they continue practices the former rituals. They do not fear the Lord, nor do they follow their statutes or their ordinances, or the Lord, or the law and commandment which the Lord had commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel, with whom the Lord had made a covenant and charged them, saying, You shall not fear other gods, nor bow down to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them. But the Lord you brought up from the land of Egypt with great power and outstretched arm, him you shall fear. Him you shall worship, and him you shall offer sacrifice. And the statutes and the ordinance and the Lord, the commandment which he wrote for you, you shall be careful to observe forever. You shall not fear other gods, and the covenant that I have made with you. You should not forget, nor shall you fear other gods. But the Lord your God you shall fear. He will deliver you from the hand of all your enemies. However, they did not obey, but they followed their former ritual. So these nations feared the Lord, yet served their carved images. Also their children and their children's children have continued doing so, as the fathers did, even to this day. Moving on, chapter 18. Now it came to pass in the third year of Hoshea, the son of Elijah, king of Israel, that Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all his father David had done. He removed the high places and broke the sacred altars, the sacred pillars, cut down the wooden images, and broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. For until those days the children of Israel burned incense to it and called it Neshtan. He trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel, so that after him was none like him among the kings of Judah, nor who were before him. For he held fast to the Lord and did not depart from following him, but kept his commandments which the Lord had commanded Moses. The Lord was with him. He prospered wherever he went, and he rebelled against the king of Syria and did not serve him. He subdued the Philistines as far as Gaza and its territory, from watchtower to fortified cities. Now it came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hoshea the son of Elah, king of Israel, that Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, came up against Samaria and besieged it. And at the end of the 3 years they took it. In the 6th year of Hezekiah, that is the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel, Samaria was taken. Going into the commentaries for a little bit, chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. Unlike those who preceded him, Hezekiah was a godly king who restored the Passover and returned the temple as a place of worship and pulled down the high places and destroyed all Baal worship. The bronze serpent was a statue Moses erected to save the Israelites from biting snakes. According to Jesus, it pictured how he would be lifted up on the cross. Over time, however, it became an object of worship called the Neshtun, a word that sounds like the Hebrew words for both bronze and snake. And 18 verse 5 through 8, hold fast means cleave to or remain close to, and loyalty and faithfulness. Hezekiah's faith enabled him to make unprecedented religious reforms in Judah and withstand Assyrian tyranny. Continuing on with verse 11. Then the king of Azariah carried Israel away captive to Assyria and put them in Helal and by the harbor, the river of Gozan, and the cities of Medes, because they did not obey the voice of the Lord their God, but transgressed his covenant and all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded, and they would neither hear nor do them. And in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. Then Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent to the king of Assyria at Lachish, saying, I have done wrong, turn away from me. Whatever you do impose on me, I will pay. And the king of Assyria assessed Hezekiah's king of Judah 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold. So Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the house of the Lord and in the treasures of the king's house. At that time, Hezekiah stripped the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord and from the pillars which Hezekiah, king of Judah, had overlaid, and gave it to the king of Assyria. Then the king of Assyria sent the Tardan, the Rabsaris, and the Rabshakeh from Lachish with a great army against Jerusalem to King Hezekiah, and they went up and came to Jerusalem. When they had come up, they went and stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool, which was the highway to the fullest house, which they had called to the king Eliakim, and the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household of Sheba the scribe, and Joah the son of Ashaph the recorder came out to them. Then Rabshakeh said to them, say to now to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this in which you trust? You speak of having plans and power of war, but they are mere words. And in whom do you trust? And you rebel against me? Now look, you are trusting in the staff of this broken reed. Egypt, on which if a man leans, would go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt to all who trust in him. But if you say to me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places, whose altars Hezekiah had taken away, and said to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem. Now therefore I urge you, give a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give you 2,000 horses. And if you're able on your part to put riders on them, how then will you repel one captain of the least of the master's servants, and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Have I now come up without the Lord against the place to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. Then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, Sheba, and Jonah said to the Rabashak, please speak to your servant in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in Hebrew, in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But Rabshakeh said to them, has my master sent me to your master to you to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall, who will eat and drink their own waste with you? Then Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in Hebrew and spoke, saying, hear the word of the great king of Syria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you from his hand, nor let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, say anything. The Lord will surely deliver us. This city shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah. For this says the king of Assyria, make peace with me by present and come out to me, and every one of you eat from his own, and everyone from his own fig tree, and every one of you drink the waters of his own certain, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and a new vine. Going into the commentaries, 18 verses 13 through 19. First, Sennacherib took the fortified cities of Judah, and he threatened Jerusalem. Tartan was a Assyria general in command. Rabsaris refers to a senior military officer, was a high court official. Rabshakeh was a high court official, often in charge of the administrative affairs. In verse 19 to 35, Sennacherib was uncertain whether Hezekiah's trust was in Egypt or the Lord, but he believed Hezekiah was guilty of deceiving the people if he convinced them to reply on either one rather than surrender to him. As Sennacherib correctly pointed out, no other nation gods have delivered them from the Assyrians, but Hezekiah knew that those gods were not the Holy One of Israel. In 18 and 20, what confidence is this which you trust? In whom do you trust? The enemy and the world are always watching God's people to see if their singular answer to those questions holds up under attack, and whether it is mere words. In the end, Sennacherib's threats were empty words. Moving on. Finishing up chapter 18. A land of bread and vineyards, and a land of olive groves and honey, that you may live and not die. But do not listen to Hezekiah, lest he persuade you, saying, the Lord would deliver us. Has any of the gods of the nations of all who delivered its land from the hand of the king of Assyria, where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad. Where are the gods of Seraphim and Hena and Iva? Indeed, they delivered Samaria from my hand, who among all the gods of the lands have delivered their countries from my hand to the Lord, should deliver Jerusalem from my hand. But the people held their peace and answered him not a word, for the king's commandment was, do not answer him. Then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Sheba the scribe, and Jonah, the son of Asaph, the recorder, came to Hezekiah with their clothes torn and told him the words of Rabshakeh. So that ends that one. Father God, I thank you for allowing me to do this. I thank you for the people watching, Lord. I thank you for everything you have done for me. I pray for blessings over these people, Lord. I pray that for understanding over these people, Lord. I pray that all their needs be met, that their prayers be answered. In the name of Jesus, amen. God bless you guys. I'll see you on the next one.